Welcome to Daily Tax Savings. This is Tony Novak here to share a few points on saving taxes and staying out of tax trouble. Today's topic is after the fact payroll. That means payroll accounting that's done after the time, usually after the year when it should have been done. So, for example, this is February 2025. I'm handling a couple after the fact payrolls for small businesses for 2024. So first, let me just say that this topic is a little more complicated. I'm going to try to shorten only what we need to cover, but we're definitely going to run more than a minute or so here. So first thing is, I was surprised in a recent online conversation with other tax professionals, EAs, I think I recall, who were skeptical of after the fact payroll. It happens all the time when a company is obligated either by contract or by tax law to do payroll accounting. Doing it, whether on time or later, is a correction of error, the accounting correction of error. That happens all the time. The implication was by some other tax professionals where you're making up transactions. In other words, like making up sales or making up fake expenses. It's not like that at all. Those are not comparable whatsoever. If it's within a company and there was a contractual obligation to do a transaction to pay employees, employee one or several, doing that accounting is simply an accounting correction of error. It's no big deal. It happens all the time. I was actually surprised at several credentialed tax people that didn't seem to know that. So moving on then. So we're not going to get into why and how. I'm just going to say most of the time when I handle it, it's because a business owner or key people are doing tax planning after the fact, way too late. We always say tax planning should be done early in the year, but sometimes it's done late in the year, or sometimes it's done the following after the year end, and we're stuck trying to scramble. And I'll tell you, we're going to get into why it's can be a bad idea in a minute. So often when we're doing after the fact payroll, we're doing it for the first time. That's most times when I'm doing it, I'm setting it up for the first time. Company needs to do payroll last year for the first time. So first thing we have to do is register with state and federal government to be an employer that pays payroll. So that's a little bit of a hassle, but it has to be done. Then once we have that registration, we can, almost everybody now uses some type of payroll software. It's been years since I've known anybody that actually did a manual calculation with a checkbook, or so. Everybody does it with some type of software, and so it's a matter of setting up the software, entering the transactions. Now, normally, if we're doing it now for last year, we're doing one single transaction. I had one case a few years ago where it was part of a government grant and they needed a separate check for every month. So we had to do 12 checks for each of several people in order to qualify for the grant on a retroactive basis. So it's possible. Usually it's just one transaction. And the last thing I want to wrap up it with is normally when you hire a payroll company, you're paying for every month, whether you need it or not. And if you're one of these companies that's only doing payroll once a year at the end of the year, because it's the owner and you want to see how much the business actually made, I think that there's better ways, there's more efficient ways than hiring a company that charges every single month. It used to be no big deal. I used to say $500. It wasn't that long ago. And now the cheapest I see is $1,000 or $1,200. So I'm trying to get it back down to that $500 range. If you have to pay payroll, there's no way it's happening for free. It's going to cost you payroll software costs for me. It's going to cost something. I just tell any small business, even one person, to set aside $1,000, even if it's just one single after the fact payroll one time in the whole year for one person. It's still going to cost something. Would love to hear your thoughts, comments, if you've had any experience, good or bad, with this, or if you want to talk to me one-on-one. That's easy to do also. Find me at taxproblems.cpa. I'll be back.